things are getting a little bit spooky. Hello storytellers, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Lauren. I'm an actress, teacher and all-round storyteller sharing my adventures in parks, pages and pixels. We're back with pages and today it is Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by, is it Shea Ernshaw? Shea? Apologies, I've got your name wrong. Blame the dyslexia. Now, again, this is a common theme. This book's been on my shelf for a while. Not as long as some of the others, but it has been on my shelf for a while. And I think I've had it maybe 2 years. Let me check to see when it was published. 2022. I think I bought it just after it was published. So it's been a few years. And I remember last year being adamant that I was going to read this over Halloween and get my little spooky fix. And then I didn't. Life got in the way. Started a new job, running off and doing this and that, and I just got married and yeah. So I started it this year and I'm so glad that I read it, and I did. So why did I pick this book? It's Halloween, it's Sally and Jack and the Halloween town. It's Tim Burton-esque. Do I say more? It's completely me. So let's get into the blurb. This is a really nice length blurb. It's not overthrown with loads of quotes from people saying how great it is. It's just simple and to the point. So here we go. Jack and Sally are truly meant to be, or are they? Newly crowned, Sally is thrown into the role of Queen of Halloween Town. Cast into the spotlight and tasked with royal duties, Sally can't help but wonder if all she's done is swap her captivity under Dr. Finkelstein for a new cage. When Sally and Zero accidentally uncover a long hidden doorway to an ancient realm called Dreamtown, she unknowingly sets a chain of sinister events in motion, putting herself and the future of Halloween Town in jeopardy. Can Sally discover how to be true to herself and save Halloween Town, or will her future turn into her worst nightmare? So, from reading it, I knew that this story was maybe not going to be completely Halloween Town centric, but I'm going to have those characters. There's going to be some spookiness in it, so it felt like the best read for Halloween. And in terms of how accurate is this blurb to the story, exceptionally. This is one of the most accurate blurbs I have had for the story in a really long time. This is fantastic. It tells you who the characters are. It tells you what's the current issue that starts the story. It then goes on to explain how this accident happens, and it gives you an idea that Sally's gonna have to save them. Is she gonna get what she wants, or is this gonna be her nightmare? So yeah, blurb is good. In terms of the audience, I would be inclined to allow some of my younger students to read this. I would say I'm probably looking at like my year 8s, maybe some of my slightly more mature year 7s. It's not a hard read, and it's although it's Halloween Town and it's got those spooky characters, it doesn't delve into particularly dark themes. It keeps that sort of child-friendly essence about it. So I would be able to recommend this to some of my students. I feel like there'd be that gap sort of between 13 and maybe like 17 where some might find it a little bit cringy, which is a shame. But I do think you could let an 11-year-old, maybe more a 12-year-old read this. The pace was really good. It kept a nice flow. It wasn't too slow, wasn't too fast. It kept you engaged. It sped up a little bit at the right moments and slowed it down again, but it didn't go too slowly. It did just enough of giving description and giving action. And it didn't waffle too much into like the woes of the characters. So you wouldn't get like a whole chapter that's just this one character thinking these things and it's all their thoughts. You get little bursts of that, which I really enjoyed. because it was just enough insight, and it linked just enough back to what we already knew. And yeah. Now the structure is interesting because based on the blurb, you know, when Sally and Zero accidentally uncover the long hidden doorway, I kind of assumed it would be third person, and I was very wrong indeed. So let me find a bit. Here we go. Right on the very first page. Wind stirs the bone-dry leaves, and Jack takes my long ragdoll hands in his, the corners of his fingers calming the fluttering rippling across my stitched seams. So this is written as if we are listening to Sally tell the tale about herself, which I actually think gives a personability to it, particularly as, although Sally is one of my favourite characters in The Nightmare Before Christmas, there is some debate if she has much of a personality. And I would argue, no, she doesn't, but that's the point. You know, she's been locked up. She's been refused to do things and live the life she wants to try and go develop who she thinks she is. So other than, you know, being a little bit defiant and curious, maybe there's not so much to her to begin with, but I think there is more underneath. And this book definitely sort of delves into that more, sort of like, what is she thinking? What is she feeling? Is she maturing? Yeah. So characters. There's obviously the typical characters you'd expect because it is a spin-off from The Night Before Christmas. You've got Sally, you've got Jack, you've got the mayor, you've got the witches, you've got blah 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 and Zero, da da da. But there are some new characters added in. So we do go to some of the other realms. This book actually starts by them going on their honeymoon to Valentine's Day Town. And they meet the leader who's there, whose name I have forgotten. Ruby Valentino. It says here, Ruby Valentino was so charming and flawless and queen-like, and I don't know if I can be like that. So yeah, they meet the Queen of Valentine's Day Town. They have the little honeymoon there. She ends up going back during the story to try and get help, and that then goes wrong. The most important place they go to is the Dreamland, the Dream Town, should I say. And that's where she really starts to uncover some truths about her past and some secrets and some lies that some of the characters have been keeping. And it's through that she's able to unravel how to fix the problem in the story. The characters are pretty classic in nature to their original movie, the original concept for Tim Burton. The new characters do feel like they stay within that realm of style. I would say there's some characters from Dreamtown who are like the mayors. They're married, but they're like the mayors. That's where kind of maybe the writing style and the story does divert a little bit, sort of linguistically. Yeah, in terms of my, you know, the characters that really stand out to me, I mean, obviously it's all about Sally, so I'm absolutely loving it. But I do quite enjoy the storyline, less so the characters, the storyline that does come in Dreamtown. I just really enjoy being back with the Halloween characters from Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. Queen Valentino, Ruby Valentino, it's written where you sort of want to distrust her to begin with, and then you realise later on that maybe you shouldn't have, but she doesn't really help, but she kind of does. She's a tricky character. It doesn't make me want to visit Valentine's Day Town. Although the way they describe it, it sounds like it looks absolutely stunning. The interaction she has with Ruby Valentino makes me go, do I want to go here? Do I want to go here? I did appreciate the reference they made about Ruby Valentino looking for love herself, and that she'd heard about this wonderful man called William Shakespeare. And both Jack and Sally are like, oh yeah, if we see him, we'll let him know. And then later on they're like, he's very dead. But we don't want to tell her because we don't want to break her heart. So yeah, that was sort of a nice addition to that character to sort of bring in a bit more of the real world. But yeah, character-wise, same as they were in Nightmare Before Christmas. They're written pretty well. There's some moments with these new characters that I think need a little bit of fleshing out, but they're pretty good. What went well and even better if? I mean, I think what went well was like the storyline they came up with to introduce Sally as the Pumpkin Queen, and you know, how can you go from being trapped and told you can't do anything and being told what to do to now becoming queen, thinking you've got your freedom, but actually there's people telling how you should and shouldn't act and what you can and can't wear, and is it just the same ideals, different cage? That is a nice perspective in the book. In terms of Even Better If, again, like I said, I didn't particularly feel like I was fond of Ruby Valentino, and I think I'm meant to like her more than feel suspicious of her. So that's kind of the main one, I'd say. There are little moments where I think we could get on with the story a little bit quicker. Not necessarily like we're listening to Sally go woe is me the whole time, but it does sometimes feel like we're getting a bit distracted by the thoughts or the scenery. But again, I have really short attention span, so maybe that's my problem. But I mean, I'm really struggling to think of an Even Better If. My favourite bit, it's actually quite hard. It's a very small bit, but I did quite enjoy the thrill of when Sally's starting to realise that there is someone new in their town who is going to be causing some problems and that it's going to be left to her to fix. That sort of adrenaline of her like not knowing what's going on, but also recognising there's a danger. That bit I really enjoyed. The way it was written to build up to the suspense for it was pretty good. So I did enjoy those moments. Yeah. I think that probably would be my favourite moment. It was a good book, but there's sort of no standout moments per se. Enjoyable read, but there was nothing that like springs to mind. Who should read this? If you're a fan of The Night Before Christmas, give it a go. It does take you back into that world. It does feel very immersive again. It does feel like we are there with these characters. And if you've got an active imagination, you can picture them moving around the town based on the stop motion animation. What is wrong with me today? You can sort of start to picture bits of it, which is genuinely quite pleasant. That sort of idea of, well, I know what Jack's house looks like, but now we get to see new rooms, but based on what I've seen, what bits can I fill in? Okay, she's at the town square. What can I remember the town square? Where's the well? Blah, blah, blah. So I think it does help that it comes from quite a visually aesthetic film, because it does help with you sort of picturing where she's going. Would I read it again? Yes. I'm not saying I'm going to read it every Halloween. I am a fan of picking up a new story and reading it, but I would return back to it. You know, if one day me and my husband are lucky enough that we have children and they want a slightly spooky but not scary book, this is one I could see myself reading to them and keeping hold of. Again, probably when they're sort of around that age of like a 10 or 11. 10 might be a bit young. It depends on the child. If they're a mature child, maybe at 10. But yeah, I could see myself making this a book that I would read to them, you know, a chapter or two every evening before they go to sleep. Did it change my perspective? I don't like this question because this book isn't written to be changing anyone's perspective particularly. You know, it's exploring this idea of how would Sally be queen. It's more a curiosity book than it is a perspective book. No. Maybe if the character of Sally, because she does sort of mature and grow into her role of queen and how she wants to do it and how that works with her and Jack. But I wouldn't say there's like some grand perspective gained from reading it. It's just a nice, well-paced, spooky but not scary story. That's all it is. So, star rating for Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. I think it's a 4-star. Like I said, it's a good book. It's not my favourite book I've read. It goes through the story well. The characters feel quite fleshed out. Sally certainly gets some maturing in it. So it is good. But I'm not here like, the best thing ever. So I feel like giving it a 5 is kind of a disservice to the books that I do genuinely think that was immaculate. That being said, after I read this one, and I was like, I need to move on to my next set so I can get some videos out in November and December, look what came up as a recommended book on Amazon. This is the next one, and it's called Hour of the Pumpkin Queen. This was, I haven't read it yet, this was published in 2025. So this is very, very recent. Now, I don't want to leave this till Halloween next year, but I have got other books I need to read first. So let me know, do you want to hear my review of the next book? Would you like me to try and get this read for maybe like early January, February time for that to be one of our books for the year? This is written by somebody different though. This is written by Megan Shepherd. So I'd be intrigued to see how the style of writing changes and if it continues with that kind of dialogue and language. But yeah, let me know if you want me to read this one. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate every view I get. My channel is small and hopefully one day it will be mighty. So I do really appreciate it. Talk to me about books in the comments, or Nightmare Before Christmas, or Tim Burton. They're all my favourite things to talk about at this point. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to watch more of these or any of my content. There's trips, there's plans, we're booking honeymoon stuff in the next few weeks. By the time this goes out, I think we would have already done it, but you know, it's all very exciting stuff that's going to be coming to the channel in the next few years. So thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye guys.